thank you so much for joining us today. I see some familiar faces and some wonderful people. We are going to take this opportunity. I'll continue to let wonderful volunteers in as we move through this. But we're going to spend some time today talking about the finances and fundraising, really focused on the UVA Fund and then some fundraising opportunities. As we move through, I think I know everybody, but my name is Elizabeth Muse. I'm the Senior Director for Global Engagement and UVA Clubs, and I'm joined by two fantastic colleagues. Katie Brown, she is the Assistant Director, Customer Relationship at the UVA Fund, and we have worked with Katie for years. She has been the absolute most amazing partner with us, and she's going to continue to be at the UVA Fund while also seeking some other opportunities as well. Katie, we've absolutely adored working with you. And my other absolutely fantastic colleague, Patrick Stanley, is the Director of Digital Engagement. And Patrick's going to walk us through in a little bit Give Campus and the opportunities there. I will kick us off just a little bit, just UVA clubs around the world. We're here as the Office of Engagement to support what you do and what you want to accomplish. And to do that, we're going to talk, as I said, we're going to talk a little bit just briefly about the insurance that we have, and then finances and fundraising. And then we're going to have time for a question and answer session together, just so we can hear what others are thinking, opportunities for growth, any challenges that you are feeling. So looking to that next slide, just wanted to highlight for all those on the call that the University Advancement every year takes out an insurance policy too specifically that covers the clubs for your activities. One is a liability insurance. This basically is the event insurance that we want to make sure you are confident in putting on the events that you have. As Katie is going to talk about and to reiterate, your status as a nonprofit comes through your UVA Fund account at the Alumni Association. That nonprofit status that the UVA Fund has envelops you as they're a fiscal sponsor of yours, and that is your nonprofit status. We take out a policy on your behalf to protect you. And so the liability insurance is for your events. We additionally take out directors and officers insurance that protects you as a representative for your UVA club working on behalf of the UVA community where you live. Both of those insurance policies we rework every single year. We have a broker. It's about $70,000 if you're wondering what that is. And we list out events from the past year for them to get an idea of what those events look like. We provide a list of all of the clubs. We provide a list of every single volunteer that is on your board starting on July 1st, with the caveat that any other board members that come on are also covered by that insurance. If you have an event that may be a little on the outside, think I gave the example recently of a boat that has axe throwing and young alumni happy hour. That's a lot going on. So I'll reach out to the insurance company through our risk management group. And if we need a rider for this event, I typically like riders when boats are involved. We will go ahead and get that extra rider. I'll communicate that and be in touch with your regional engagement officer about that. Otherwise, this insurance policy is just in the background, protecting you so that you can continue to focus on what you do best, which is create connections in your community. So just a little bit about the insurance. And now I'd like to hand the floor over to Katie Brown, who will talk about the UVA Fund.
We have one question from Susie. I don't know if we should start there.
Yes, Susie, you are covered in horseback riding. I looked into that for the Tidewater. If it's something a little different that you're not quite sure about, let's absolutely connect. I prefer to contact our insurance company and move forward. Always sign the waivers. You always want to do what your local provider is offering you. So if you're working with a vendor, whether it's kayaking or a boat or horseback riding, absolutely sign those waivers. Are the waivers going to do anything? Maybe not. However, you've got that first moment of legal coverage because they signed the documentation provided by the third-party vendor. And then this insurance policy will come into play and then we'll go on. Yes. So if they're wondering if our president hosts a hike, if a vendor, yes. And if you want to do an outside waiver, we haven't done that, but that doesn't mean we couldn't have that conversation about that. If you have concern about something, let's definitely chat. Thank you. And we'll come together for a fuller conversation about things to the end as well. And Katie, now the floor is to you.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. As Elizabeth mentioned, I'm Katie Brown. I have worked for the UVA Fund and with the UVA clubs for over 6 years now, and it's always been a pleasure working with the Office of Engagement and supporting the club. So thank you for having me tonight. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefits holding a UVA Fund account, as well as strategies for managing your UVA Fund accounts. So some of the benefits are fiscal sponsorship, which I'll talk a little bit about on the next slide, gift processing, accounting, and investment services. Just to get into the gift processing a little bit, when your club receives a donation, we have a team that processes that donation. It goes into the university's database, and it's considered, the donor gets credit for giving to UVA, and the donor receives a gift receipt as well. And so we provide that service. We also provide accounting services. As I'll mention again, as part of the fiscal sponsorship, your activity is part of the UVA Fund. We file an annual tax return, so you don't have to worry about any of that tax stuff. And then we do the accounting and payment processing services for you as well. We offer investment services that I'll get into later. And a few other benefits include the ease of making purchases. I'll explain that a bit. As well as continuity that we provide. I know I hear often from volunteer groups that sometimes if there is a lack of continuity with leadership, they may have trouble accessing like an outside bank account again, if the leader didn't pass down the information. And so we help with that because we keep a permanent file of all of your account records, as well as records of payments that you've made. So we keep a good balance of keeping your account secure while also allowing for, easy handoffs between leaders and providing any records or information that you need to see, like historical information about the account. And then finally, we have a really good collaboration with the Office of Engagement and other areas of UVA. We work closely with your regional engagement officers to facilitate any questions that may come up about your accounts. So yeah, those are the main benefits. So I'll first talk about the nonprofit status that Elizabeth was mentioning. So the UVA Fund is a department of the Alumni Association, and the Alumni Association is a tax-exempt nonprofit 501c3. And so the UVA Fund, we provide financial services to a variety of organizations around the university, including the UVA clubs, and we act as your fiscal sponsor, which means that as I just mentioned, your activity falls under our tax ID, and that by having an account with us, you have our 501c3 nonprofit status. And that's mainly beneficial for fundraising and receiving donations, because donations that come to your accounts are considered, may be considered tax deductible for your donors, and we receive those gifts. And then, and the other benefit I'll mention, which applies to Virginia clubs, is that in Virginia, we have a exemption from paying sales tax on purchases. So if you're paying directly from your UVA Fund account, so if you're in Virginia and needed the certificate to show that, please feel free to reach out. So those are the main benefits. And again, if you ever need to see our tax ID or provide any tax information, we're happy to share that with you. And along with that, funds have to be, all the money you're spending has to be used for charitable, scientific, or educational purposes, which all of the clubs fall under that purpose. All right, so this is the UVA Fund website. Our URL recently changed. It used to be uvafund.virginia.edu, but if you were to click the old URL, you'd be redirected here. So alumni.virginia.edu/UVA Fund is now our new URL. And our website provides basic information about the UVA Fund, as well as you'll see tabs on the left side which allow you to do more with your account. So for example, if a donor ever had questions about giving to a UVA Fund account, they could click the Give option. If you wanted to open a new account, that's where you would begin as well on our website. Let's see. If you needed to deposit money, I'll get into that later, but we have a deposit form you can use. And then the manage your account is the main link that you'll click, which will take you, it now will take you directly to our help desk, which is what you'll use to manage your account. And that will be more on the next slide. So the help desk, as I just mentioned, it's linked from our website. This is now your central place for submitting all different kinds of account requests. And that includes, goes from payment requests to purchasing card requests to contact updates for your account, any sort of request you may have. And so I think one important distinction with the help desk is that every individual, so every leader will have their own login into the help desk. It's not just one login for your club, it's for you as a user. And so if you are new to either the club or just to the help desk, you will begin by creating your own login. And so if you're new, you will not see this screen that's up here immediately. You will see a login page. And so you'll click the button to sign up. And then you create a login, create your password, and then you'll be able to get in and you'll see this home screen. So the main thing to remember with this help desk is that to start a new request, you will click new support ticket here, which is right below how can we help you today. And then if you have already submitted a ticket and you are wondering about the status, you can click check ticket status as well. So I think that's really the biggest benefit of this fairly new help desk that we have. We've had it for over a year now. But it allows, I think, more transparency and ability to track the status of any request that you make. And one other thing I'll mention about the help desk is that it's a little bit cut off here in this picture, but we do have a knowledge base, which has basic answers to FAQs that you may have. All right, I think that's all I have to mention about the help desk right now. All right, so one of the things that you'll do in the help desk is, and that's important for us and your club as well, is to update your account contact information. So when you have a leadership transition, we ask that you submit a ticket in the help desk, again, by starting with new support ticket. You'll see when you go in there, you have a lot of different types of requests that you can submit. And one of them is update contact information. So we ask you to do that when you're going through a transition. And you will see that you will have the option to either add a new contact. So if you just want to keep who's on there, but add someone new, you have that option, or you can replace everyone who's on there. Like if you need all new leadership replaced, you can do that as well. And then you can, when you add folks, you can specify them as either an authorized signer or an authorized contact. As you can see, authorized signers have ability to both see account information and request payments from the account, whereas authorized contacts are on our monthly statement distribution list and receive the account statements and account communications. Most people are actually both. You have the option to say that they're both as well. But if you wanted someone to only be one or the other, that's an option as well. All right, so one of the main things that you'll be doing from your account, obviously, is making payments. And so you can request the payments, again, in our help desk. You will see that there are many different types of payment requests that you can make from the account. So you could pay an award, you could pay a scholarship, you could pay, the most basic one is reimbursement if you need to reimburse somebody, transferring to an outside account, or even donating to another organization if you wanted to make a donation on behalf of the club. And so you'll see here that we have a few different types of payment options. So you can choose either like ACH, which is a bank transfer or direct deposit, or a wire transfer, or we can mail checks as well. The main thing to remember is that ACH is the preferred method because it's the quickest, most expedient way to make a payment. But again, we can mail checks if that is preferred. And we do have a weekly deadline for requesting payments, which is Tuesday at noon. If you have requested checks, those are mailed at the end of the week. If you requested ACHs, those are processed, I think Wednesdays now, and then take a few days to arrive in the recipient's bank account. A few key things to remember is that if you are requesting a reimbursement, we just need a copy of the receipt, which you'll be prompted to upload at the bottom of your request. And if you're paying for a vendor, like paying a company for example, catering, we just need a copy of their invoice as well as a W-9 from them. All right. Okay, so I think the easiest and quickest way that you can make payments from your account is by using a purchasing card. And we definitely recommend that everyone get purchasing cards for their own convenience. So the purchasing cards, they work, I would say they're more similar to a credit card because when you make a charge, it doesn't come out of your account right away. You get a statement at the end of the month by email, and we ask you to reply and approve the charges. And then we post those charges to your account at the end of the month. Like everything else, you can request a new card in the help desk. The cards now, for like fraud protection and security reasons, have to be in an individual's name, but it's not tied to your personal credit or anything like that. It just has to have your name on it. And you can request multiple cards. So if there are a few leaders who you think will need to make purchases, feel free to request multiple. Just so you're aware, and you'll be notified about this when you order the card, but the card's billing address is always Alumni Hall's physical address, which is listed here. If you encounter any issues with your card, if it gets declined, it's probably easier to call or email the UVA Fund versus we bank with SunTrust and our cards are with SunTrust. So versus contacting them directly, it may be easier to contact us. We can quickly and easily look into the reason for the issue. The most common issue that we see if a card gets declined is if the charge exceeded your monthly credit limit. Every card has a monthly credit limit on it. So if it exceeded it and you have money in the account and it's just a busier month with more activities and you need to spend more money, we can temporarily increase that limit, no problem. And then, as I mentioned, you get statements. And oh yeah, and if your card is about to expire, feel free to reach out to us, but just know that we do automatically receive replacement cards when they expire, and then we'll contact you and confirm your address and send you the new one. And yeah, I think that covers it. All right, so a few tips for making a deposit. So the UVA Fund website, it does provide a lot of guidance on giving to UVA Fund accounts. But also if someone were to give you hand you a check or cash, or you collected money at an event, I was about to say, don't mail cash to us. You might send us a bank transfer and we can talk about that. But if you receive checks in the mail, you can mail checks to us. The PO box listed below, you can address it to UVA Fund, and the PO box listed below is Alumni Hall's PO box. So that will allow us to deposit the checks directly into your account. We'll just need your account, some indication of your account information when you send the check in. So again, we have a deposit form both in our help desk and on our website. So you could print that out and send that in when you send the check. And checks can either be made out to UVA Fund or to your club directly. We can deposit them that way. All right, so I think Patrick's going to touch more on the online options, but just so you're aware, you have a few different options for collecting online and mobile payments. If you choose Give Campus, that's the online donation form that the university now uses. And then we also use Eventbrite for collecting event payments. I just wanted to mention that because all of those payments are routed to your UVA Fund accounts, and we provide smooth payment processing to your accounts. And we do get a lot of questions about connecting our accounts to Venmo and PayPal. We cannot connect to those directly, but we luckily can. Give Campus does give donors the option to give through both Venmo or PayPal or credit card when they go onto that platform. So just wanted to mention that because it connects to your UVA Fund account. All right, so we have a few account management options. And so we have, you may see in your monthly statements that we have a few different pools listed. So a lot of groups just keep all their money in the cash, what we consider the cash pool, which is for your operations. You can use the money immediately. It doesn't generate any returns. But we do also have 3 investment options. We have a short and a midterm pool, which are invested with Wells Fargo. And then a long-term pool, which is managed by UVIMCO, which is the University of Virginia Investment Management Company. And they manage the university's endowments as well. And so we are able, and our accounts are able to participate in their and use their services, which are really great. As the names might indicate, the short and midterm pool are for more, they're lower risk but lower returns. So if you plan to use the money in the near future, but you just want to invest it and have it generate a little bit of earnings, you can put it in there. But if you have, for example, a scholarship fund, and you don't plan to use the money for the next few years, and you want it to build up, you could choose to invest money in the long-term pool, which again is more volatile on a monthly basis, but it's a great option for long-term investment. And we have no limits on how much you can invest in any of those. It's just, that's at your discretion. And the one thing I will mention is we can invest in any of these pools on a monthly basis if you notify us by the 15th of the month. And we can divest from the Wells Fargo pools monthly. But the one restriction we do now have is that UVIMCO only lets us take out the money and move it to our cash pool on a quarterly basis, which I'll talk a little bit more about on the next slide. Great. So this was kind of a change a year or 2 ago, that we now can only take the money out of the long-term pool and move it to your cash pool on a quarterly basis. The schedule is outlined below. I do send reminders when these quarterly deadlines are coming up. So we just ask that you keep these deadlines in mind. So for example, if you need money moved from the long-term pool to cash by January, we ask that you submit a request by August 15th. You can resubmit a request to either invest money or divest money in the help desk. There is a invest or divest option in there. And can't remember if I was going to say anything else, but yeah, so just kind of plan ahead on that. Oh, the other thing I think I should mention is that you can only spend the money that's in your cash pool. That's the money that's available for immediate spending. So that's why we ask you to notify us in advance if you need to move the money out of an investment pool into cash. All right. Okay, so we have 3 different kinds of monthly reports that you may have seen. So we have our UVA Fund monthly statement, which shows in the first tab your current balance as of the end of the month. And then the second tab, it shows your more detailed account activity. And then the third tab has our contact information. So that gets emailed monthly. There is a slight delay due to the time required to receive our updated monthly investment information. So you may receive it around the middle of the following month, following the statement period. So for example, in September, around mid-month, we sent out our August statements. And then we have our purchasing card statements, which go out to the card holders. If you are a card holder, you'll only receive a statement if you made any transactions in the previous month. If you didn't make any charges, you wouldn't get a statement, and that's emailed to you. And then we also do have an option for monthly or daily deposit reports, which provide more detail on donations. So if you're wondering, if you see on your monthly account statement that a donation came in, and that will only show like the amount and the date that it came in. So if you're looking for more details, you can also request those in the help desk. There's a ticket type for request deposit detail report, and you can sign up for those reports to see more details on who donated and when, and then it also shows their contact information if you wanted to thank them. And it's important that you submit a ticket for that online, just because the university requires that all volunteers agree to the university's non-disclosure agreement before having access to any donor information. So we just ask you to click I agree before you request those reports. All right, and this is just a quick breakdown of our fees. So they are based on the account balance. So if you have less than $8,000 in your account, the fee is $40 a year. It's prorated quarterly. So you'll see quarterly a $10 fee applied. And that just covers our basic account management operations. If your account balance is greater than 8,000, it's based on a percentage. So it's 0.5% of your balance per year, and that's actually also prorated and applied quarterly. And then we may have, if you needed to make, I forgot to mention this earlier, but if you needed to make a wire transfer, like a same day bank transfer, like in an emergency situation, we could do that. There's just a $35 fee that we apply to your account. And then if we issued a check and it got lost and we needed to issue a stop payment, we would apply a $15 fee if it had been over a month. And if it's been less than a month, but the check has been lost and you need it reissued, we have to do a $35 stop payment fee, which gets applied to your account. All right, and finally, here's our contact information. So again, this is the link to our website, which will also link you to our help desk when you go to manage your account. If you need to contact us, you can email uvafund@virginia.edu. That comes to a few of us, so we'll definitely see your message. And then this is our phone number for contacting us.
Katie, thank you so much for starting us off with all of the background information on the UVA Fund. If there are any crazy questions right now from the audience, we can take those. If not, we'll wait till the end of the presentation. And then I think what we'll do is we'll turn it right over to Patrick Stanley.
Right. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And thank you, Katie. Let's make sure I have this up. There it is. Thank you for having me this evening. I recognize a lot of names from either emails of chains I've been on with folks or questions we've answered. But if we haven't met, I'm Patrick Stanley. I'm the Director of Digital Engagement in the Office of Engagement, and I help folks like UVA Clubs and Lifetime Learning and Alumni and Parent Travel and Annual Giving with their digital opportunities to make sure that we're connecting with alumni, parents, and friends. And part of that is what I want to talk about today, which is digital fundraising opportunities and how those have changed, especially in the last 12 months. And Katie spoke about it, especially with things like Give Campus. Give Campus is now our entire financial form provider for the University of Virginia. So as many of you veterans of the clubs may remember the term iModules. It's a word we try not to use anymore because it just makes us all sad. But iModules was our old form provider. They weren't very good. Give Campus is our new form provider. They are very good. And I think it's opened up sort of a lot of new opportunities for us in the digital fundraising space. And I want to really just quickly sort of gloss over what that means, especially what that means for you and your club. So like I said, Give Campus is our new form provider. And, if you've ever spent any either time looking at forms, if you've ever spent any time making gifts to the University of Virginia, you will have seen these sort of new forms here at the bottom left. This is the UVA Club of Charlottesville scholarship form on Give Campus. This same form, when it was on iModules, lived over it was 6 pages long. It took about 4 or 5 minutes to complete a gift. It was pretty painful. And it was, it took so much time that, really only the most dedicated of human beings would make it to the end and actually make a gift. And a lot of what we were trying to do with this move to a new provider was, as we like to call it, make the most frictionless experience as we can. Ideally, making gifts take under 1 minute. That's really a big part of what we were trying to do. And you'll see right there on the left-hand side, a lot of that is really trying to tailor what information we're asking for and really narrow that down to what's the most important, what's the most necessary in order for us to complete this gift. But then equally important, you see on the right side, is giving people a range of options to use the financial tools and processes that they are used to and they're comfortable with in order to make a gift. So in the past, it was credit or debit cards only. Now you can make a gift with Venmo, with PayPal, with Google Pay, with Apple Pay, with a credit card, with a debit card, or even a bank transfer if you so choose. So all from the sort of natively built into these forms. So obviously with things like, PayPal and Google Pay and Apple Pay, those are great. Just in general, just because they're able to, form fill a lot of information for you and really make it simple to make gifts. But I think more than anything, the newest option there, Venmo, that really opens up a lot of options for us, especially considering the fact that the vast majority of the people who are visiting these forums are doing it from a phone. So when you're making a gift from your phone, or potentially thinking about making a gift from your phone, things like Venmo, especially, as we see it with, lots of people at an event, have always said the same thing when, somebody might be asked for a gift and like, hey, do you take Venmo? In the past, we never could, because, there wasn't really a business portal. And to an extent there isn't still, but it's because, we don't have a business account set. We're using Venmo essentially as the gateway, for making that gift. So it makes it so easy for the individual user if they're using Venmo. It makes the experience much faster for them to make a gift, and it allows them to use the tools they're already using in their everyday life. And we all know that Venmo is incredibly popular, is a peer-to-peer financial tool, and having that as an option for us here is amazing. In the next couple of months, I don't know the exact date, but we'll have a new option. We'll also start accepting cryptocurrencies as well. So if people want to make a gift in insert name of coin later, that'll be here, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, any number of, every day there's like 4,000 new coins. I don't know which ones we'll accept, but we will be accepting crypto right through these forms as well. So that's really gonna, while that might not turn into a huge percentage, I think what the important part is that we're, as much as possible, meeting people where they are to make those gifts possible. So these forms are really a great opportunity for your clubs, especially as we're thinking about, the club specific forms, to make it really easy for people to find your club, make a gift to your club, and do so in a really efficient manner. And my hope is that, especially when we're, really fully back to in-person events, and, I know a lot of people have used things like our dip jars in the past. We want it to be just as easy to be able to hand a URL to people and say like, oh, hey, go make a gift here. And it's just as fast as pulling out your credit card using a Clover Go or a dip jar or anything like that, because it's so quick to be able to go to the form, say where you want to give, say how much money, and with your Face ID or a fingerprint to be able to use a Google Pay, Apple Pay, or Venmo to then fill out all the rest of the information and click submit on a gift. So it really is going to incredibly change how efficient it is for us to make gifts. But I really hope that's something we can explore for in-person opportunities as well, without having to use another piece of technology or something that is prone to all sorts of issues that we might run into. So that's the form side, but I did also want to just show you really quickly the other side of Give Campus that we utilize quite a bit, which is social fundraising. While the real difference, between the two is forms are really just that. They are a financial form for processing a gift, whereas a campaign is sort of a full stack social fundraising platform that allows us to have things like interactivity through, videos, audio, and static imagery. We can have a built-in ambassador system. We can create matching gifts. We can create challenge gifts, incentives. There's just a lot of great functionality there. If you've been involved in any of the Giving to Whose Days over the past, 5 years, you made that gift through Give Campus, through the social fundraising platform. And it's really just an excellent way for us to do bigger things. And this is something what we might be thinking about from a clubs wide opportunity for us to be thinking more of the global opportunities that we have for raising money, to be using something like this. So this is something I just wanted to make you aware of that's here, and we're exploring a lot of options. But it's really just another powerful platform that, hopefully we're going to be able to leverage specifically for clubs to make gifts and make, meaningful contributions to the experience of your, club goers. So one of the things I was just looking at there is really this is the difference maker between that, the forms and social fundraising are things like this that you see on the screen. You see the ability where an individual can not just make a gift, they can go and make a match themselves. They can create a challenge where essentially they say, I'll give $1,000 if these 5 friends each give $25. The system handles all of those challenges. It handles all of the math behind it, all of the notifications behind it. So it's just a really, fun way for us to be able to, really expand the way in which we're asking for money, and do it in a way that's a little bit more informal, but also a little bit more structured and pointed to whether a specific campaign or, a specific allocation that we might be thinking about. So that's an important piece of it as well. And lastly, I want to just quickly talk about Eventbrite, because Eventbrite is, we've been using Eventbrite for over 3 years. I think we started using it the third quarter of 2018. And we all know that, Eventbrite is it's the backbone of your event registration process. And a big part of that has always been our desire to be able to accept gifts at the same time, donations at the same time that we're doing registrations. We are going to be able to do that in the near future. Obviously, there's still some hurdles that we have to get over, and that mostly comes down to how we're handling both the gift information and the money on the back end, where it's going, where it's funneling through, making sure people are properly attributed for their gifts. But we've cleared a lot of the big technical issues, and this is something we've really thought about for a long time, because this is the single biggest touch point you have with folks who interact with your events. Events are the biggest thing that clubs does, and within that, with tens of thousands of registrations every year, that's tens of thousands of missed opportunities to potentially solicit a 5, 10, 15, 25, $100,000 gift. Who knows what people are going to give? People do crazy stuff every day. So I think what that really comes down to is that has been an opportunity that we've really wanted to leverage, and we're sort of getting closer to that every day. It's going to take a considerable amount. We still have a considerable amount of work to go between our sort of partners in UVA Fund and gift processing, and making sure we get all of everything set to do it. But I'm very optimistic that we're going to be able to start. We're going to pilot some of them here in the near future and be able to see how that goes. And hopefully very shortly thereafter, we'll be able to launch that. So I'm really excited about that, because I think that's something we really wanted. And, I think it's going to, even if it's not a big sum of money in any individual event, we just do so many of them that really, it adds up. Small dollars add up very quickly. So I'm really hopeful for that. But that's just a quick look at sort of what we're sort of thinking about and doing right now from a sort of a digital fundraising sphere. Really comes down to new and updated forms that provide a better experience for your folks to sort of get where they're going in a much easier fashion, and be able to make a gift without being feel like they're filling out their taxes at any moment they're on a form, and then obviously integrating the sort of a giving experience at every touch point without inundating people with big asks everywhere we look. So we just want to very seamlessly give people the opportunity to give without being incredibly overt about it. So I'm really happy where we're going. I'm really happy with the steps that have been made. It's been through a lot of partnership with folks like UVA Fund, folks like Advancement Services. We've gone a really long way, and we've got a little bit further to go, but I think we've got really great things that are happening now. So with that, I'll pass it back to Elizabeth.
Patrick, thank you so much for the background and everything that is going on with Give Campus. I know the work that you have been doing to bring that opportunity not only to UVA clubs, but the entire University of Virginia, and that has been very, very successful. I'm really cannot wait until we can have Eventbrite that's synced in with the process of being able to accept donations for each of the clubs. As you said, we partner on so many events and so many activities that will be amazing. Well, why don't we bring the group back together if we can? And Patrick will stop sharing that screen, and we'll get everybody to come back together. And does anyone have questions for Katie on the UVA Fund, or Patrick on Give Campus opportunities, thoughts, questions?
I had 2 questions. I guess one for Katie. Are there like a minimum number of authorized signers that are required? Like, do you require 2 for each club?
No minimum. I would say generally what most people do is have 2 to 3. I would say you can just have 1. It's a little bit trickier if you need to be reimbursed. So like if you are the person who's the leader and you need a reimbursement, I guess in that case, we would just ask your regional engagement officer to approve. So that's fine. But normally if there's only truly 1 person on the account, you aren't able to request payment to yourself for like security reasons. So we would just need to add someone else to like either request on your behalf or approve your request. So that's the only time it becomes tricky with one person. But again, your REO could approve that. So yeah, it's pretty flexible.
And that's a great question, Amanda. Working with Katie and the UVA Fund for so long and so many things, if there's something that comes up, they reach out to the regional engagement officer. If they're not available, Michael or I can authorize that because we are contacts. And so we do get a monthly report that shows the bank accounts for all of the clubs. That helps us know if somebody may be getting low, as Katie alluded to earlier. You've got a big event coming up and you need to make a down payment on something, we authorize and you say, yep, go ahead and increase their credit card. Will, on the university side, cover that should something happen. And so we have, that's one of the extra fantastic partnership things that we have, which is that we can do that. We all work together on those accounts.
Okay, so on that, do you mean if there were like a venue that required a upfront deposit? Yes. And you were expecting that you would have ticket sales to cover it, but you don't have it now, UVA can confront basically payment? Is that what you're saying?
We increase the credit limit past what your limit is. If you only have $500 in your account, but you need to put $600 down for the venue deposit, and we've got the plan and you've worked with your engagement officer on what your ticket sales look like, then ask for that increase. We work with Katie. We say, yes, that sounds great. And we move forward.
Okay.
We want to give you the opportunity to host your event, and not having that extra amount of money is not a reason we wouldn't want you to be able to bring the community together.
Okay, that's helpful to know because that's actually a challenge that we've run into in the past with like a lot of places for game watches and stuff have minimums and that kind of thing where it just becomes logistics become really hard around here when there's like deposits required for a lot of things and you're not always sure if ticket sales are necessarily. So that may be something that we have to work through with the REO, but that's helpful to know that there's kind of that opportunity.
Absolutely, definitely. And then they'll bring that to us and we'll just figure out what that looks like.
Okay. And then my other question was, a few years ago, our club received a Clover, like to run credit card payments. Is that still a thing that that is used? I actually don't know if we ever set up the account, but I think I still have it. Is that still a thing that's used?
That is a great question. So we had to change devices. So if you have a Clover Go, we're not using those anymore. They used to plug into like a phone.
Yeah.
Of course, they connected to a headphone jack and then phones stopped having headphone jacks. So that was one issue. But mainly it was, we found that we needed to start using Clover Flex machines, which are independent credit card processing machines, just to make sure that we were like good with PCI compliance and safe credit card processing procedures. So we've changed the kind of machines we use. And so I would say if you wanted to borrow one at one point, we could ship it to you. We do have a rental program for those. I didn't mention it here because it's a little harder to ship since you guys aren't right in Charlottesville, but it could be done. But I think another thing to mention is I think all the solutions that Patrick just mentioned, I think probably are better than using that type of machine. But if you did want to borrow one in the future, we could definitely do that.
Yeah, I think the only time it may have been helpful, and we ended up just working it out with cash, was like we would have people who would show up to events who didn't RSVP and they were ticketed events and they would just want to pay at the door. And there were things, where we'd ask people to RSVP in advance so we could arrange for like food and stuff, but people just show up anyway. And I think that was the intent, I think, behind the Clover, was to capture that situation where you could just charge them there at the door, but we usually ended up working it out some way with cash.
Yeah.
And Amanda, we also have a little credit card swipe, which is very, very tiny, plugs into your phone and syncs up with Eventbrite. So what you just pull up your event and then through the event organizer app, that's really, really important. It's the event organizer app, and we can get you all of the login. You pull your event up and then you just have the little device, you swipe the card and it charges their card and enters all their information into Eventbrite. So it goes in through that system, which then ends up in your bank account as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, we always do this in all of these conferences, which is ask your regional engagement officer. We can help you do that. And we can ship those and bring them back, or depending on your volume, when we all get back to all of these in-person, we probably can just get one for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, Lamont, Lori, Susie. Hello, no questions. Okay. No, okay.
One quick question for Katie. Do you foresee at some point in the near future being able to use the online page portal to actually check the fund balance as opposed to waiting for the monthly statement?
That is a great question. That is definitely something that gets asked pretty often. Up until now, it's kind of been a technological challenge for us. It's definitely something that we want to have happen, but we haven't made it work yet, although it is a long-term project of ours. Someone on our team is working on that. So I could definitely see that happening down the road, but we aren't quite at the point where I could tell you when, but it's definitely a goal of ours. But I would say until then, if you ever need to see an account statement, you're welcome to reach out to us and we can send you that anytime. You don't have to wait until the monthly one comes out. So yeah, that's our solution for now, but that is a goal of ours down the road, yes.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for our financial gurus on the banking financial side and on the fund? Oh, Susie does.
Yeah, real quick, and it's another group dependent. Katie, how will the scholarship disbursements show up on our forms, on our the monthly statement?
That's a great question. Yeah, so when did you pay your scholarship recently, within the last few months?
I have sent in the request we had 2 recipients this year because we went back and redid one for last year, for the first year, and then one for this year. So I filled out that form with their information. Perfect. And I'll be honest, I haven't, done an update or checked it.
Okay, yeah. So for scholarship payments, we send those to Student Financial Services. And so you will see that in the second tab of your statement under, I believe, the checks section.
Okay.
It will show as a payment to, I believe, University of Virginia or University of Virginia Student Financial Services.
And it's half this semester and half next semester. So we'd see it once now and once in January or February.
That's a great question. So did you request to send it all? If you requested it all at once, we sent it.
Yeah, we didn't. I worked with Ashley on this and we did it in two chunks.
Okay. So yeah, it just all depended on how we did it. So if we so it sounds like you may see the two separate charges. Okay. The other option is if you did send it all right now, Student Financial Services can automatically split the scholarship.
I wasn't really sure where the split came, if they did it or it showed up at ours. For some reason, when it's been a couple of years since we gave one, and I don't remember what it looked like on our statements, quite honestly.
Okay. And I can always look into it and see what the amount was, which way it was done.
Yeah,
but
thanks.
Sure.
I have a quick question.
Oh, Lori?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, Coastal Carolina's a new club. We've only, started out, but we do want to set up a scholarship fund. So when you set something like that up, on the statements that we get, is there actually a separate line item that appears, and how does it, I guess logistically, like if you do some kind of a collection, for scholarship money at an event, do we just tell Katie, hey, this is earmarked and put it into this line item, or how does that all work?
Yeah, so I think the best way to do it, if you are specifically fundraising for a scholarship fund, I think the best way would be to set up a new account for your scholarship, so that's our best and probably only way to ensure that the money is held, specifically for your scholarship. So you can reach out to us or always submit a request to set up a new account and we can get that started. And then that way we'll make sure that those funds get pointed to your scholarship. And then it would show as like when you received a monthly statement every month, you would see 2 different lines on the first tab, one for your operating account and one for your scholarship.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Sure.
And Laura, you can work with your regional engagement officer, Josh, after he's back from his wonderful honeymoon. And he can help have an initial meeting with Molly Bass, and she can help guide on the scholarship fund, on setting that up, what you're trying to accomplish, how much money you should put in before making distributions, things like that. Molly, who Katie knows very, very well, is a great partner in guiding clubs on how to set up a scholarship. And then that becomes part of the process that Patrick is talking about the giving, right? Then you can give to the scholarship. Long-term, people could still do operational gifts for you, right? They can absolutely do that. And that way people have different ways of making contributions.
So now, and I know you guys, the other folks here are probably old hat at this, so I apologize if I'm asking really basic questions, but so if you set up the fund, can you take some money out of like the, the account to just get like a little nest egg, or does it all have to come from donations to start the account? You know what I'm saying? Like, can you?
Yep, your operational account could be used, part of the money, however much you would like, to start your scholarship. We've had clubs that have grown that operational account to a certain size where you just can't spend that money, and then they work and move it over and set it up as a scholarship. And then they've got more monies that are coming into the operational, and then they can move over however they want to do that. But once it's over in the scholarship, you cannot utilize that for operating money, that it is in a scholarship fund. If you go back to Katie's slide where it's the cash account, short-term, long-term, and scholarship was its own separate line.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks.
But lots of opportunities, great resource again over at the team over at the Alumni Association on working with you on the scholarships and what you can use. And then, as Katie said, how monies can be moved between them.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Other questions while we're all here? And all questions are good questions because clubs are different. We have clubs that have been around for a long time that have not gone down the scholarship route and setting up a scholarship. And we've got clubs that are brand new, Lori, as you're saying, and that you want to sort of hit the ground running with both an operational and a vision of having a scholarship down the road. We have clubs that give out small amounts of money out of their operational to every single student that comes to their student send-off event. People do it in very, very different ways on how they want to have an impact in the community and what they feel like the community can do collectively for UVA students. Any other closing thoughts, Katie or Patrick, just that might have come up as we were chatting here? No? Well, Katie?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, if you ever have a question, don't hesitate to reach out. I guess that would be my final parting words.
And that is true all the way around with any aspect of the UVA clubs that you are working with, what you're trying to accomplish in your community. The team here, we're here to do that for you. And I don't think everybody on the team has, very few of you have had a chance to meet Sadira. She is the newest team member, the newest regional engagement officer. I think this is week two and a half.
Yeah,
Sadira's with us. So welcome. She will be working with a group of clubs through the center of the United States and then on the West Coast. And she's coming to us from student services with a history working at UVA and a lot of experience and knowledge about the student experience, which is fantastic.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm new here too, learning a lot. So this has been great. Thank you.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you will go get a cup of tea or a glass of wine or a sparkly water and join the group at 7 o'clock for the event with Cindy. It is always super fun to have our little closeout for the Club Leader Conference. So I hope you will join us for that. And again, Katie Brown, UVA Fund, Patrick Stanley, Digital Engagement, thank you for joining us. And I will see you all very soon.